Hi, and welcome to the Virtuoso podcast. My name is Theophil Asamoah-Jedu, and I'm the founder and artistic director of Gramophone Ghana. I'm also the conductor of Gramophone Chorus and as well the director of Gramophone Academy of Music, and now the host of the Virtuoso podcast. This is a platform where we are going to be having conversations with virtuosi, people who have gained mastery in some aspect of music. We're also going to delve into issues about life and talk about their life's journey. We're going to take some nuggets from them about how they have lived their lives and how art music and choral music can impact our society. And so we'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to our channel so you can get more content like this. It will also help us reach more people and keep you up to date when we send in a new episode. So welcome aboard, and we hope you enjoy our conversations. Welcome to the Virtuoso podcast. Dr. Alfred Patrick Addaquaye.
You got it right. Wow. Yes, sir. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, sir. Very well, very well. It's wonderful to see you.
It's been very, very long.
You're looking good. Looking good.
Thanks a lot.
Your funky jacket.
And you've done so well for yourself. In fact, I'm very proud of you. And,
Thank you so much.
I'm really proud to be associated with your brand and what you are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I called you not long ago and you graciously agreed to come.
Of course, I really value you and I cherish you. So
thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much for coming. For a long time I used to be confused as to your name, whether the Alfred came first or the Patrick came first.
That's why I said you got it right. Most people make it Patrick Alfred.
But I got it once and I said I'm not going to get it wrong again.
You know, my dad is Alfred and my mom is Patricia.
Oh, okay.
And I'm the only boy.
I never knew
so
this.
So they decided to share me.
I never knew this. Oh, fantastic. Whenever I hear your name or I see you doing anything, whether it's teaching or lecturing or anything, it takes me back to being a greenhorn in Kwaboche.
Yeah.
I remember
that great school.
Yeah, the great school, the only school. And we share that in common, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I came to Form 1 and we were preparing for speech day.
Okay.
And Mr. Lightkumsen,
the music teacher,
the music master,
my boss,
came to announce that in the next week we're going to receive an august guest organist. And so the seniors had been saying the organist that just left the school, he was a whiz on the organ. And I said, who is this person? They said, Addaquaye. Then that fateful day came, you came for the rehearsal and you put your hands on the organ and it sounded like a totally different instrument. So whenever I hear your name, I still remember that feeling of
it takes you back.
Expectation. It takes me back. It does take me back. It takes me back. And on the Virtuoso podcast, we usually like to go back to the guests' background and their upbringing. Sure. You know, we are a music podcast, and we want to promote choral, classical, art music in Ghana. So can you tell us about that background,
sure.
your childhood, your upbringing, sure. And where music lies there?
Yeah, in fact, since you mentioned Mr. Peter Lightkumsen, I don't want to forget this. Let me mention him again. Mr. Peter Lightkumsen, wherever you are, thanks so much. You've played a big role in my life.
Wow.
He's the first music teacher that taught me formal music in the classroom,
Wow.
And in infant school, because my practical level was very high, and I was playing the organ and all that, I used to hear people saying, I'm even better than the music teacher and all that, but it was never ever true. He taught me a lot in terms of academic music, and he's the one that also made sure I entered the university.
Wow.
You know, he's the one that told me, I know most of the performers are not interested in the academia, but you have to be in the university. And he introduced me to the head of department at that time when I was a student.
Wow.
So I'm who I am because of Mr. Peter Light Kumsin. I don't have to joke with it. He did very, very well. So those in advancement thinking I was better than my music teacher, I was not better than him. He actually nurtured me.
Yeah, no, but you were certainly good. You were certainly very, very good because, I remember the words he used to describe you was the best organist in the country at the time.
He used to mention that.
You are certainly a virtuoso. But let's talk about pre-infant.
For sure. So, I started as an Anglican.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to be a server in the Anglican church. But for some reasons, the week that I started, when we were young, let me go straight to the point. My dad was not really a lover of church. Every Sunday he would be playing football and all that. So my mom was an Anglican, therefore we were following our mom to the church. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden he decided to start going to church. So because of that, we had to join him to the Methodist church. So it was that week that I started serving. That was the same week we had to enter there. So when we're in the Methodist church, I joined the junior choir, and that was where the inspiration began. Because luckily for me, I started in a cathedral. And in that cathedral, there were a lot of good organists, and the choir was very strong, and they used to sing a lot of classicals, and even the hymns, the singing of the hymns were done in very high standards, So from the beginning, I had mentors that were good, that I was looking up to. And there was a pipe organ in my church, So that was where the inspiration came from. Yes, I was a little boy, let's say the age of about seven years, So I decided to join. So I started singing as an alto, then later on moved to tenor. So for the keyboard, what happened was that, where I was, my area, the next house, my house was number 6, Shockbetten, Kumasi, not in Treso. And there was the house before my house, number 5. There was a piano there. But for some reasons, a lot of people were afraid to go to that house, because they had the belief that that house had witches and wizards and all that.
That's interesting.
They had that history. So everyone was afraid to go there. But because of the piano I saw there, I was also afraid to go there. But because of that piano, I decided to be going to that house. No matter what is there, I'll go. And one of my friends was playing the small woods piano for tutor. I was fascinated about it, But because of my background in the choir, and the tonic software and all that, he just showed me this is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So some of the songs he was singing, I started translating them to the music, And then, so the next week, just a week, for myself, I was surprised. To be frank, how I started even playing the keyboard, I would say it's a mystery, Because the next week, Sunday, there was a GAMEC conference. And unfortunately for the church, Krasata, he was the main organist of the church at that time. He was not there because Kumasi, yes, he was the national director of music. No, at that time he was deputy.
Okay.
And Akuto, Philippus Akuto, he was also not there. All the organists were not there for the first time in the cathedral. Wow. So there was no one to play the organ. And I opted that I can play. And even for what I was going to play,
you had no idea.
I didn't know what I was going to play. And suddenly they gave me a hymn. I remember that hymn very well. La 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 ta di da ta di da. The Lord Jehovah reigns. And then I started playing. But of course, at that time, the only key I knew was C.
Okay.
The music was in D, but because C is very close, yes. Yeah. So I started playing. Because I hadn't learned how to play the stuff, and what I knew was the tonic sofa, I started playing with the tonic sofa. And how I was playing, I don't know. And also, one thing that also marveled me was the fact that people started looking around and wanted to know who was playing the organ. And they were thinking it was extraordinary, it's nice and all that, And I didn't know how nice it was, So from there, people started talking about me everywhere. There's a small boy somewhere. There's a small boy playing and all that. I think that was a big encouragement for me, So that is how the whole thing started. So I have to be frank that because I started with the tonic sofa, it was very difficult for me to switch to the staff. So I played the tonic sofa for a long time. I even joined bands and all that, and I was doing those reggae and kucha for a long time until I realized that it's time to learn the staff. That's how it started. Okay. I don't know whether I've answered your question.
Comprehensively. One thing that is clear about you is that you love music. Can you tell me what music means to you?
Music means a lot to me, because for some reasons, yes, that day that I touched the piano in that house, that was where I decided I'll be a professional musician.
Wow.
Yes, I told everyone that I'll be a professional musician, whether you like it or you don't like it. And you see, in those days, music was not fashion.
It's not popular.
And I'm so shocked that now these days we have a lot of kids that want to learn the piano and all that. Because at that time, most people believe that it's music is for the, for people that have not been able to make it in life, and some band boys, at some ghetto boys and all that. Once in a while, maybe you'd be able to raise some noble musician and all that, So it was not a fashion, and because of that, in fact, the whole of Kumasi, for instance, I was one, if not the only one of the youngest, at the age of 7, 8, playing the keyboard, But these days, thanks to technology and all that have made children know that learning instruments, is very, very important, So for me, and because of that, it was a tough time, because at that time, deciding to be a musician, as at that time, because the playing of the instrument was not even, in fact, I quite remember the whole of my school, they needed someone to come and play the keyboard, and there was no one to play. So the whole school, I was the only one that was playing. You can imagine, even in the days of Infanspim, there were very few, though others were playing, but there were very, very few. Yeah. Unlike today where you go there and you meet a lot of students, So you can imagine us at that time taking the decision to be a musician. You'll be mocked. Yeah. And people will go like, this guy, all he knows is music. He says he'll be a musician and all that. I think he'll be hopeless and all those things. Some of my teachers used to tell me that music is not a course, and I'll be a hopeless guy, and I know nothing and all those things, But why that one? Because I am easily, as at that time, I was easily discouraged. But when it comes to music, I am never discouraged, So I think that one thing that also encouraged me was the fact that my headmistress was in love with what I do, For the first time, I saw a particular headmistress who is not so much interested in science students and math students, but the one that can play the organ. Everywhere she goes, she talks about me, even up till now. Mrs. Theodosia Jackson, thank you so much. So I think God also had prepared the way for me. So he had a way of, getting influential people to come my way, and to make things faster for me. I think when God wants to place you in a particular position, he would guide your path, but it will not be easy. That's why I love the song that says, he never gave a promise that the journey will be easy. I like that song by New Love because of just that phrase. You never give the promise that the journey will be easy, but he'll take you through. Yes, so I think this story may have to serve as an encouragement to the young ones that aspire to do, or to be in music and other fields that are not really recognized. God will recognize you and reward you in future, yes.
No, it's very, very inspirational. Very, very inspirational. Even I am inspired by this story. Now, going back to Infanspim, when
yes, for sure.
after that speech day, along the line, I became the choir master of Virtuoso.
Oh, wow! Wow!
And
Hey, congrats!
yes, and the first thing I did when I took office was to go to the vestry.
Okay.
And to look through the music. We used to keep the scores.
Yeah, that's true.
There. And I came across a collection of songs that had your name on it. The one I remember vividly, the first one I saw was Blessed Be His Power.
Wow!
I've taken you back.
That's true.
Yeah. And I looked at this score and I said, this music, it looks like Handel that's writing.
Yeah.
This person who wrote this was inspired by Handel.
By all means, yeah.
So later I discovered that you had a whole oratorio.
Yeah.
And I think I wasn't part of those who came to perform it.
Yes.
But I think you invited us to come and watch it at UCC, I remember.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there to watch the first performance.
Wow!
To watch the first performance of it. But tell me about that. What inspired you to put such a work together?
You know, Handel...
Laudate, right?
Laudate, yes. It was first Laudate and later on edited to Laudater Christus.
Okay.
But it's the same.
Okay.
You know, Handel had always been an inspiration because in my church, we used to sing a lot of works by Handel, you know. And I listened to the compositions and, you know, I was wondering who was Handel, you know. And because at that time I was a child, I was thinking Handel is some god and all that, you know. In fact, if someone had told me to worship Handel, I would have done so, you know. Because I thought the whole of music is Handel. I knew nothing but Handel, you know. So I told myself that this oratorio, I think I would write it. I would like to test it and write it. So I started it in infant film school, you know, final year. I started with We Praise Thy Name.
Okay.
Gradually, we praise thy name, oh Lord. Yes. So they used to sing it a lot, you know. And then gradually, right after school, I dedicated 1 year of writing the oratorio, you know. But there was one thing that was a mystery, you know, because I always told myself that, I don't know, I told God that even if I would die, I have to write this oratorio before I die. Because, and also looking at the standard in which all the masters have written this oratorio, and with my small wings, you know, he should help me and bring me the spirit of Baroque and spirit of Handel to be able to write it, you know. So after the whole thing, I was wondering whether it will be okay or not, you know. And I went through a lot of frustration in writing the oratorio. In the first place, now people heard that I want to write an oratorio, and as at that time, they were like, "Oh, he cannot do it." You know, because writing something for 2 hours for people to come and sit and listen, if it is not interesting enough, people will move away and all that, you know. So I was also writing in fear whether it will be well or not, you know. Also, the whole thing is, after writing the whole thing, now the choir to perform it was also a frustration for me. I go to this choir, they are not ready. This choir, they are not ready. So when I was in the university, I tried to see if Gamsu choir could perform it. They were not ready. Parks choir, they were not ready. So I remembered that when I was in infant film school, I met this choir called Addaquaye choir, and they were not doing bad. So I spoke to Ebenezer P. Addaquaye. At that time, he's the music teacher in Wesley Girls High School, you know. And then he told me that oratorio, yes, we would welcome it. It is something that we will want to do, you know. So, and you know, at that time, because I wanted to be sure of what I was doing, a lot of musicians were coming to my rehearsal to, you know, listen. And there was one musician that did something that fascinated me, James Varikama. You know, he was here in Accra. You know, can you imagine? He traveled all the way from Accra to Cape Coast to come and listen to the oratorio. You know, I mean, can you imagine someone just coming all the way from Accra to Cape Coast and I came to listen to your oratorio, you know, and he thought that was good, you know, and I would invite this musician, just come and listen to the whole thing, you know, and all that. So at the end of the day, now even getting the sponsors was another frustration, you know. Then at that time, my parents came in And they thought that they could help with sponsorship, And lo and behold, Stanchart decided to sponsor the whole thing. So how it came as successful as that, but it was written out of frustration. The rehearsal was also out of frustration because we didn't have a place to rehearse. We had to be rehearsing even in the nights with mosquitoes and all that. I don't know why I was going through that frustration. I always ask myself whether Handel was going through that frustration. So I used to tell people, I don't think Handel went through. But when I grew up,
you realized that he did.
I realized he
worse.
went through worse, and it was also the same frustration, how to get the choir. People were laughing at him. People doubted if the oratorio will come out right.
He didn't even get sponsorship.
He didn't get sponsorship.
Performed it for free.
And so he had to do it for, and at some point he told a particular small boy that I'm writing, but I'm shaking because I don't know whether this oratorio will be nice, or I don't know whether there is that spirit around oratorios where, because even when Haydn was also writing the creation, it was the same frustration, but it came out very, very well by the grace of God, and everything was fine.
Well, we thank God, we thank God. Yeah, it was great, and
thanks.
It was, I think it was courageous of you, and I think with time I realized that you are very courageous. You do things that you think, will work, and you push through. And I think that's
all by grace.
That's remarkable.
It's all by grace.
Yeah. I noticed that for some time you have sought to perform solo.
Okay, sure.
And I'm curious, is there a reason behind that what you do?
Okay.
Being a one-man performer, as it were.
Yes, the one-man performer didn't come by chance, Most people think I just decided to do it because I want to do it. No, it came out of prayer. When I was in Takrady, I handled Bethel Methodist Church Choir, for quite a long time. Not too long, but let's say about 5 to 6 years. And that was where I met your dad,
Yes, he told me.
And how I met him was also mysterious.
I've heard that story.
Yeah, he was told that I am making too much noise there, so he has to come and use his influence to sack me from the church. When he came there, he fell in love with me. From there, all his functions he used to invite me. So what was happening was that there was a time that I was praying, and it was deep prayer, and then another prayer warrior helped me in that prayer. So after we prayed, then he mentioned that God has told him that we should be quiet for a while and listen to what he has for us, So I closed my eyes. I was not hearing anything. So I told him that I'm not used to this style of thing because my church background and all that, we don't do this kind of, thing and with the tongues and all that. So I couldn't hear anything. And he said, close your eyes, you would hear. For the second time, I couldn't hear anything. And he said, I'll hear. So for the third time, then I heard that you have to move as a soloist. And that is why I brought you to this earth, to move and start working as a soloist. Others would work with groups. It is fine. But even if you would want to work with a group, you still have to stand out as a soloist. And that is what will make you, So at that time, I started questioning that, how can I start as a soloist? Because I've always been working with choirs. I'm a choir master, and I've been working with choirs. In the first place, I don't even sing solos. I teach, though. I don't sing. So I don't see myself as a singer, So how can I start? And then he said, then you have to start. But maybe you would have to leave and go and start. And your first concert must be titled Addaquaye on the Black and White Keys. That was another frustration. Because then I was supposed to have a concert as a soloist for the first time. I was wondering whether it would work out or it would work. How can people come and watch a soloist standing there for 2 hours, 3 hours? How can it be possible, So I decided that, okay, no problem, I'll do it. But even that one, people were also wondering, this guy, why is he moving solo? That was solo, this thing. And that was my first concert in Kumasi. I didn't have sponsors. And then the first time I did it, some sponsors. They were my seniors in infant school, not knowing they traveled all the way from Accra to Kumasi to come and watch. They said what moved them to Accra. That's Rocksters roofing sheet.
Okay.
Kojo Dankwa.
Okay.
And of course, the past NDC chairman, Mr. Potofi, his nephew, he's also called Potofi. The two of them moved to come and listen. Then afterwards, they said, we are moved, so we will take you to the National Theatre, to perform. And it was a success. And so that is how the solo started, But then I'll go somewhere and they'll be like, and one thing that is funny, let me tell you, a client can tell you, we want Hallelujah Chorus. And I'll tell them, Hallelujah Chorus is done by choirs. Then they'll be like, no, but we want you to sing it as a soloist. Then I'll be like, oh, no, then let me bring a choir. But I don't know what God put in the minds of the clients. They'll be like, no, we want you do it as a soloist. You do it. Even if it's not nice, we will listen to it. Lo and behold, I perform it, and everyone is wild. We want this, perform it, solo. Everyone is wild. So from there, people started inviting me. Even when I want to bring in choirs, they will still insist, we want you as a soloist. So I realized that God's word had to come to pass, But it's not that. And also I realized that in music, at times, you'd have to break away a bit from the tradition, to find out, to create a niche for yourself. Maybe that is what God wanted me to do. But it didn't start like that. It started with frustration and fear and all that. But later on, I had to accept it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I myself, I always ask myself, I know Addaquaye's skill in directing. If Addaquaye wanted to raise a choir,
it's very easy.
That choir would be probably one of the best in the country. So why is it that Addaquaye wants to go solo? But after this explanation, I think it.
In fact, later on, even the choirs were sucking me away. Go, we don't like. They will go, we don't like you. Addaquaye, no, then we know he is good, but he's he's too known, So I asked God that all these things they are saying about me, is it a way of pushing me to be a soloist or what? And because all the choirs were like, go away, we don't want you anymore, But as a soloist, in fact, I will tell you that there has been a lot of blessings in my life, and I don't want to joke with it at all. But it's all by the grace of God.
There was something that fascinated me when I used to watch you perform either with a choir or solo. For a long time, I used to use the same keyboard. And I asked myself, and you take that keyboard wherever you went. You would not use any other keyboard. I said, what is about that keyboard that Addaquaye cherishes so much that he takes it? I remember you brought it to a fast room. You take it everywhere. And for a long time, even though there were upgrades in the keyboards,
I was not upgrading it.
You never upgraded. You were always using that keyboard.
Yes.
Tell us about
Actually, what happened was that that keyboard you saw was also a mystery, because when I was young and I wanted to get a keyboard for myself, at that time, it was quite expensive for my parents to buy, So I had to be running to churches to see if there could be keyboard. And keyboard was not very common at all, So my parents traveled to the US, and I don't know, I wouldn't say this is by the grace of God, but my mom had an accident, and that accident had to bring her a very huge money, for insurance. Outside the insurance money is not like Ghana, and then because of that, and there were other few businesses that someone introduced my dad to. So within a short period, things turned around. Then I called them and told them that now things have turned around. Don't forget that I don't have a keyboard. So that keyboard was my first keyboard, and it was so dear to my heart. It is like a comma dewache na wenya bibia. Udi. Even when there are new ones, you still cherish that old one. And I had set it in a particular way to suit me. So when I go anywhere to play any other keyboard, I would have to set it to suit me. And it takes some time to set it. So I decided that wherever I go, I'll go with my own keyboard because I know the settings, I know where the trumpets are, I know this. That was the whole thing, you know. Yes, someone may also say, them fancy foods won't want to choral. No, I won't change it. I know, yeah, but I loved it. But later on, I realized time was catching up. You know, there were new keyboards with pen drives, and you record, and then with the diskettes were also disappointing, and all that. You know, so I had to move on and change it. But it's still there in my archives. Yes, as my new keyboard. Yes.
Addaquaye, the academic. I was inspired. I was really happy when I heard that. I didn't hear that you even pursuing a PhD. But before I heard Addaquaye graduated with a PhD. And I said, wow, the man has followed through. Yeah. Tell us about that. What's your area and what is you mentioned that Mr. Lightcomson
he's the one
instrumental.
That introduced me. Yeah. Instrumental because it's the same university that I did my master's, University of Cape Coast, and the same university I did my PhD. You know, so I think that at some point I felt that I must do it and do it well. You know, and at some point too, I also felt that yes, it's good to be performing and all that, but then if you learn. You know, and you have the certificate. At least the learning is one experience, and also having the certificate is also another experience where, you know, the world will take you serious. You know, but aside that, you know, I think I was also inspired by works by great scholars. You know, like Nketia. You know. Like Agawu in my department, like Professor Amwa and all that, you know, Richard Amwa of University of Cape Coast and all that. So I decided that I have to pursue it and probably be in the academia as well, you know, so that what God has put in me, I can also deliver in a way of giving back to society by, you know, inspiring my students. And all, you know, that's the whole. Yes.
So what's your area?
Theory and composition.
Okay.
So my area is theory and composition, but of course in the university, because of my experience in singing and all that, you know, I handle voice students as well, you know, and also yes, in composition I handle master students, the PhD students, and you know maybe few undergraduate courses and all that. Yeah, exactly. And also because of my proficiency on the piano, I have I've written, you know, a new piano book with Professor Joshua Moa, you know, and which inspires beginners to be able to play what they know already, you know, and all that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And because of that, I also have a book called Addaquaye's 8. Yes, you need to get that book. You would love it. It has solos. You know, for my first year students, I performed it. I composed it specifically for my first year students. You know, and then that worked too. Yes, you know, because people, you know, when I was in choral writings and all that, most they were always complaining my works are difficult and my works are difficult to sing and blah, 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 you know. So right now, whenever I'm writing, I start asking myself whether it is difficult or it's not difficult. So this time around, I decided that, okay, I'm writing for first years. So let me try and simplify it and see whether they could do it. But simplification also doesn't mean I have to come too low, you know, and do any mediocre work. So I was between, you know, some standards and all that. So I decided that, okay, let me try it to my first year students, you know, to see whether they would love the music or not, you know. And lo and behold, they loved the song so much, you know, and they were performing with passion, you know. My student here, though, you know, she was supposed to do just one song in the book. She ended up singing all the songs.
Wow.
You know, yeah. It's called Addaquaye's 8, the solo and piano. You know, both African works and Western works. Yeah, I'll get to your copy.
Oh, please, I'll be happy.
Yes.
You said you teach some voice, right?
Yes.
I'm curious. You know, people say that the best singers are people who have not even had any training.
Yeah.
Or formal training in singing, right?
Yeah.
What role do you think training plays in singing as compared to a natural propensity to be able to sing?
I understand you. You know, one thing that people also forget is that in the academia, people think that we train people in the academia to become celebrities. You know, I know the expectation in music, I understand. But let's look at even other fields, other courses, the sciences, economics, businesses. How many of the students come out like Kwame Despite? How many of them come out like Kennedy Japan? So the question is, also even the medical doctors, how many of them come out like these people that have been doing Ibibindro and selling and all that? Some of them are even more popular than the medical doctors. When you are looking at Apostle Kojo Safo, what he has done, he is even more popular than the professors in engineering and all that. But does it mean that schooling is not necessary? That is where they are getting it wrong, you know. They also forget that when it comes to celebrities, individuals decide to become celebrities. Let me just delve a little bit into popular music. If you look at what Shatta Wale has gone through, he mentioned that he moved out of his house and he had to go and stay in a ghetto, you know, to make it there. So if you are looking at his fan base are the ghetto guys. And look at where he has been, you know, it has raised him to. It was his personal decision to be there. So if you don't take care, you may think, okay, then why is it that those in the music department are not being like Shatta Wale? It is a big mistake. It was his decision to become a celebrity, and he has worked to that level. But the normal student coming from home to study music might even not be a music pro. He is coming to study the course, to gain insight. But afterwards, he decides whether he wants to be a virtuoso or not. We all studied music. And someone also asked me, what about your mates? That is also not the question. Because my mates, some are teaching. You know, some have traveled. Some have also decided to delve into other courses. But I decided that I will become a celebrity in a particular corner. And it was my decision. You understand where I'm coming from? So that comparison is not feasible, actually. You can't compare music students to celebrities who have been doing it the whole of their lives. In fact, let me tell you, even in the university, the music students you see, they study other courses. You know, there are other courses they study. And even in the practical aspect, it's just a small part of what they do. That's why it's university, universal knowledge. You know, so this kind of why is Pavarotti popular than the professor in voice, and why is this person is a lecturer, he's not as popular as the composer, it's all not, it's not here nor there, you know, it's just a duty, and then you have to go. Let's take it, I mean, the last thing, look at the students you have here, you know, in gramophone. This is a wonderful music school. You understand? To me, it is something very wonderful that I'm yet to see a lot of Ghanaians do. And I mean, I don't know the spirit that also moved you. If I was the one interviewing you, I would have asked what moved you to do this. You understand my point? But the students that you are teaching, there are levels. You understand? But if one wants to be a virtuoso, you know that it is his personal rehearsal and other commitments. You understand my point? So it is also not there to say, oh, but even these guys have come to the music school, but they are still not doing like so and so. It doesn't add up. That's the point. I don't know whether I've answered your question.
I see that.
Yeah.
Except that, especially in the West, when people are applying to go to music school, they sometimes even request an audition.
Yeah.
But it's like in our setting, and I think it also contributes to the downplay of music in our context.
Yeah.
That in our time when we were coming to university, if you didn't get
a particular grade,
and you applied for music,
yeah,
you stood a good chance of entering. Do you have
okay, so you see, we believe that music is a special course that needs a particular grade. When I was entering the university, this is what my head of department did, which was excellent. There was this course he called RSP. I've forgotten the full title. So what happens is that if you want to come into the music school, apart from looking at your results and all that, you come to that class and study fundamentals of music, both practical and theory. When you pass, then you'll be taken, But so that I was part of that class. But like Kumsin also told them that my boy is good. He doesn't need to join that class. You come and write the exams and those things. I wrote the exams. So it means that I understand where you are coming from. But even when you come to the music school, now the instrument that you want to play, we make sure that you are within a particular limit. So my voice class, for instance, if I realize your voice is not up to a particular level, it means that voice is not your thing. Maybe you may want to, even if voice is your thing, it may not be my style of teaching. It may be something else, or drumming and all that. Some of the students later come and thank me that say, when you sacked me from voice class, I thought you were not doing me good. But when I went to the piano class, I did far better. Or when I started learning drums or saxophone, I did far better. So it's not that, though we do not have auditions, but when you come, you are just worse off. By the time you are done with the whole course, you'll be transformed. And most of them are transformed to, great musicians and all that. So all of us, when we were entering the music school, we were not exceptional. But after some time, we picked up, So I understand your points. And of course, Western standards are quite different from Ghanaian standards, And Western standards, the number of students that want to become professional musicians in the Western world is unlike Ghana, where Ghana, you struggle to, even with the children that you see, if you ask about, if you ask all of them what they want to do in future, probability that you may get 0.5% telling you I want to be a professional musician. Because the whole thing is that even when you want to do it, the discouragement around it is very high, So these days, it's not that easy getting students that want to come and, major in music. But some of them come in and then they decide.
They discover themselves.
And then they major in it. So maybe as time goes on, it will get better. It's in the pipeline, as the politicians will say.
You are one of the few musicians who have a very strong performance life and a strong academic life. I don't know many academics, lecturers, teachers who have a strong performance life as well. Of course, I know many of them are choir masters and so on, but
I get it.
How do you balance? How do you balance the two?
Yeah, I realize that in this world, whatever you set your mind to do, in fact, even if you're unable to do 100% of it, you can do about 80%, And it's all about balancing your time. I know times for writing my papers, times to teach, times to prepare for my teaching, and times to also prepare for performances, Mostly, if during the day, if you don't plan, from 10 to 12, what will I do? From 12 to 1. And in fact, me, for my planning, even, going out and talking with friends and students and all, they are all part of my planning for the day, So, and when my time is up to go to the next level, it is up. That's the whole thing, So it's just the planning. If you don't take care, the whole of your energy may move to one section, maybe if it's performance, and then you forget about the academic work, or vice versa, So, and as I mentioned, because it was not fashion to perform, and for a long time, the society were not ready to remunerate musicians very well. They were not ready to respect the art of performance and all that. The respect is just recent, thanks to technology, because they kept seeing what others were doing in other parts of the world, and of course, other musicians have also raised the bar and all that. So maybe a few academic musicians thought that, why do I have to waste my time to be performing around, whilst I can concentrate on my papers and will become professor, and rise up. And why do I have to waste my time to go and rehearse for 20 hours in the church, where the church may not even recognize my work and all that, So I think out of that, most of the, personalities in the academia channeled their strength to writing of papers and, of course, academic work. But I know things will change very, very soon. So give us few years, and the story will be different. Maybe when I come here again in the next few years, the story will be different. You'll be asking me, why is it that we have strong academicians and strong performers?
I think I agree. I think time plays a big role. Time changes a lot of things. So let's wait and see. With people like you also in the faculty teaching, maybe it will become a reality sooner than later.
Oh, God is nyame oho.
Amen. Some years ago, I came to meet you. I've forgotten what brought me to meet you, but I came to meet you at Asylum Down.
Yeah.
You were staying there, I think, and when I came, you were practicing.
Yeah.
And you told me that you practice at least 6 hours in a day. Are you still able to?
It was 8.
Do so? It was 8. Okay.
Yeah. So when I was employed in the university, there was no piano in my office. It was like taking away, I don't know what to say, taking away my head from my body, So I had to fight to get a piano, because I still do rehearse, Though, of course, academic work has taken a little bit of my time, but at least for my 3 hours a day, I get it. Because, you see, when I stop rehearsing for some time, I realize it. And I know that, let's say, when I stop rehearsing for 2 months, my playing, I will realize I've stopped rehearsing. And I'm very sure that when I stop rehearsing for 6 months, my audience will realize. And then when I stop for about a year, the whole world will realize. So for rehearsal, I don't joke with it. Yeah, I'm still rehearsing. Yes. Yeah.
So when you were speaking about your journey, from the oratorio performance, stand chart coming in, your parents having to support you at the point. You spoke about Addaquaye and the black and white keys, your friends came to support, and so on. It raises the question about sponsorship for our kind of ministry, our kind of music. And we have a tradition on the podcast that the previous guest will leave a question for the next guest. Our previous guest was Professor Clement Apa.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah. Okay.
And he said I should ask you.
Yes.
That how can choirs and musicians like ourselves, get sponsorship for our programs, so that the performers or those who run the organizations don't have to struggle the way we do. What is your take on the issue of sponsorship?
Okay, so the issue of sponsorship, I think that he has narrowed the question, because I don't think it is only for choral music. Even some gospel singers are struggling with sponsorship. And for jazz and other kinds of music, I know that is worse, because in reality, the popular the genre, the more the sponsorship, Sponsors always believe in what they can get. And at times, what they can get, if they can't get money out of it, they want fame. And the kind of fame that, I'm being realistic, the kind of fame that Sarkodie, Stoneboy, and Shatawale will give their brand will not be the same as what we do. You get it? And they are working, and they want to be known out there, And also, we are in a developing country. So though it looks like, yes, it looks like luxury, it looks like there's a lot of money here and all that, but the money may be very limited in such a way that the companies feel that before we have to pull out money to sponsor one or two things, there must be a reason. And the reason is either we get our money or we get the fame. So whoever helps us to get that fame is what we'll sponsor. But at times, what they also don't know is that you could also raise a particular brand. Stanbic Bank started with Jazz Night, calling jazz musicians from all over the world, And it was a boom everywhere, But, they may also tell you, you don't know how much, we had to spend to promote jazz music in Ghana, Because at some point, they had to stop, But maybe if they hadn't stopped, it would have been a big thing. When Auntie Joyce started with Harmonious Choral, if she had stopped at some point thinking there is no sponsor, Harmonious Choral wouldn't have been this way. Now, it's a very big brand, So that is what the sponsors also don't know. So I will encourage the sponsors that
to stick with us, us for some time.
For some time. Or I will also encourage them that as they are looking for already cooked ones, they could also cook, some genres, and it will become theirs. And when you cook it and it becomes yours, it is very difficult for anyone to break through. Right now, Harmonious Choral, it is not easy for any group to beat Harmonious Choral, to be frank with you, because of where they have raised the bar to, So sponsors could also raise a particular bar. They mustn't always wait for something which is already out there. I mean, are they not tired of the same thing which is out there? They should also do different things, And I think music will take its right place. Yes, that's the best I can say. I don't know whether I've answered you, though.
No, I think you brought a very interesting angle to it. That sometimes you need to stick with it.
Yeah.
And make it what you want it to become, and it will fetch you the returns. And I hope some prospective sponsors are listening to what you've said, and let's see what happens.
Oh, it shall come to pass.
Dr. Patrick Alfred Addaquaye. Dr. Alfred Patrick Addaquaye.
Yeah, for sure.
It's your turn. It's your turn to leave a question.
Okay.
For the next guest.
So when you mentioned it, then I started thinking. What a big question. Anyway, I don't know who my next guest will be, but I'm also, the next question is, when will there be a time where choral performers would also start becoming more innovative and creative than to follow one style and one genre? Right now, when you go to any choral concert, you know what you are expecting, So when will there be a time where choral performers are also becoming creative to move away from traditions or to move away from what others are doing? Yes.
Okay. You get to elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah. Because, what I'm thinking, you see, in any country, I know we are developing, any country that is developing, what makes us copy or imitate, which I understand, is that the chances are very low, the opportunities are very low. So we are waiting to see what someone has been successful in. Then we try to imitate, because if you become so innovative and then you spend all your money, probability that getting that money back is very high. So everyone, it's not only in choral music or even business they do, everyone is waiting to see what another person has done. So as soon as they see the success in it, then they all run to it, But I think that at some point it also becomes monotonous. I see young composers that are very creative. At times, some of the arrangements they are able to do for their choirs to sing and all that, I'm marveled, And I know when they want to compose, they could do greater works. But all because probably they have seen a particular composer who is very popular. So they think that then I should follow the same thing to be popular or else I will not be accepted. This kind of acceptance, my mind started changing when I entered I'm being real, I'm no disrespect to audiences, no. When I entered some concert halls and I could hear some soloists singing very wrong notes and going off the pitch, and at the end of the day,
people are applauding.
The audience applaud them. So it got to a point I was asking myself, is the same applause I also receive? So are we are we really on the right path? So I started thinking, some of the songs that even come out as hit songs, at times the composers themselves, they sit down and listen to them and they will be and you cry minimadia it is how So that one only must tell you two things. Simplicity in music is also very important, and also must tell you that the applause you always hear may not be the final say. At times too, when I go to choral concerts, I listen to a choir perform a particular music in a very distinct and beautiful way, but they don't receive the applause. They do otherwise and they receive applause. But are we going to rely on applause and hits? For how many years are we going to do that? You understand? So you could also start something new, something different. At times we think once they don't applaud, it means they didn't like it. It's not true. At times that kind of music make them reflect. At times you may post something on social media. It may not really go like how you are expecting, but maybe you don't know the few that have liked it. You may not know the impact it has made on those few. So try to be innovative. I know how difficult it is when you're a musician and you are not recognized. And when you're a musician and you think you are extraordinary and ordinary musicians are being hailed and you think you are extraordinary and you are not being hailed. I know how it is. Imagine Bach's music was never appreciated in his time because they were thinking it's too difficult, he's too complicated. The person that came to resurrect Bach's music was Mendelssohn. Until Mendelssohn realized the beautiful things Bach had done, maybe the two of us wouldn't have even get the point to meet Bach. So because all Mozart's and all, what they came to meet was Handel. Everybody thought Baroque was all about Handel. When they realized the works Bach had done, they realized Bach was even far better than Handel in terms of technicalities, you understand? So don't be too much, don't be fascinated by the applause and the fans and the popularity and all that, Concentrate on being innovative, creative and all that. And one day, it will make sense.
So yes. When are the choirs and choral musicians in Ghana going to start being innovative and moving away from more or less copying each other, right? That's a good question. Any final words, sir?
I would say that I would first thank you for this invitation that I don't want to take it for granted at all. I know you are also a great musician, and Mr. Theophil Asamoah-Gyedu will not interview anybody at all, though I know it's, but the fact that you have even called me here, it's a big encouragement for me, yes, and I'll put it in my CV. Thank you so much. And I know that my fans out there, I also want to say thank you so much for believing in what I do, because if it wasn't them, I don't think I would have been anywhere, So I want to thank all my fans and tell them to keep praying for me, because God is about to do greater things in my life. And I also pray on their lives as well, that God is going to do greater things in their lives, and there'll be a tremendous change soon.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Addaquaye, thank you for coming onto the Virtuoso podcast. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome, sir.
Our guest for today has been Dr. Alfred Patrick Addaquaye.